Another news item here, for those that may be tuning in may already be aware, but John MacArthur passed the other day on into glory. Um,
Mhm.
John MacArthur had a pretty big influence on my early years as a Christian. I grew up in a church, false convert. When I came to faith at 32, I listened to as much teaching as I could get off of Moody Radio. And one night I came across John MacArthur on a Wednesday evening, and I had not heard any of the other individuals that I had been listening to on the radio preach like MacArthur. There was an authority there that was unlike anyone else that I'd heard preach. And I went to his website, and I had been paying for sermons from Chip Ingram back in the day. And I was buying sermon series, and then I would put them on my MP3 player, and I'd listen through the series. It was 99 cents a series. So if it was a 6-part series, that's $6. If it was 12, that was $12. But then I found Grace to You when I found John MacArthur, and I just saw that all of his sermons were listed there for free. And at that point, I ended up getting an iTunes player. I think they were called iPods back in the day.
Yeah.
Now it's all on your phone. But and I learned how to double speed, so I was able to go through everything that MacArthur had on his website there that he was offering for free, and I benefited greatly from listening to his teachings. I became more Reformed Baptist in my thinking, and so there were some obviously, if you're Reformed Baptist 1689 guy, there's some difference between dispensationalism, covenant kind of thinking. But I still respected and was grateful for the influence that MacArthur had in my early years there. Hadn't listened to him as much as the years had gone on. Every once in a while, if somebody recommended something, I'd go back and listen, or I'd see people posting clips of certain things, and I may see it in that aspect. But was truly thankful for his ministry, and I know he reached a lot of people, and he stood for a lot of truth in many of his books and things, responding to errors out there. I remember one more quick story, Mike, and then I'll toss it over to you. Is he did this series on charismatic chaos. He's got a book. I've got the book actually,
Yeah.
but I made a CD for this lady who was in Pentecostal thinking, charismatic thinking. I gave it to this lady, the CD of his teaching for her to listen to. She broke it in half. I never got it back. He made her so mad because she was so staunch in her charismatic thinking and
There
teaching
you go.
that she was mad. And I never got it back. I was kind of disappointed, but, so be it.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to listen to MacArthur a couple different times live, which is always a treat to hear any preacher live. I knew of him. His ministry was not as impactful in my life as others. Obviously, well respected him. Knew him as, I think one of my former elders said, he's the greatest preacher alive during this time frame. His ministry was very, I'm going to preach the Bible. And I think as Christians, we should find pastors who are willing to do that, just to preach the word. And to find a church like that is a great thing. One time I was supposed to hear him live. It was in chapel at Southern Seminary. He was supposed to start a conference. I was going to start in chapel service on a Tuesday. I think it was a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday conference. And so obviously everyone is coming to hear him preach. Alumni Chapel at Southern Seminary was full, thousands of people there. Dr. Muller comes up and informs everyone. I should say this too. It's so full that I'm in the chapel orchestra and I have to stay in my seat the entire service. So I'm like 5 feet from the pulpit on the ground. So MacArthur would have been like 6, 7, 8 feet like above me. It was kind of awkward. I had a similar thing with John Piper. It was very strange. So Dr. Muller comes up to the pulpit. It's at there, and announces that John MacArthur his flight from New York got canceled because of a hurricane, and that had like kind of went back in the sea and hit New York. The audible disappointment in Alumni Chapel was deafening. We had Alistair Begg as his replacement. So like part of me is like, what's wrong here? It's a story I'll never forget. I kind of at the time jaded me a little bit. I was like, we get so much good preaching here. Like, how much is it just like, maybe an over importance of a man? But every sermon I've heard from MacArthur, I've read some of his books and have been blessed with them on top of the times I've been able to hear him live at a conference.
Yeah. I think one of the things we got to remember is as Christians, we never idolize a man or idolize an individual or the celebrity pastor kind of culture that can happen sometimes unintentionally. But we do give honor to those who deserve honor. And I think his life and his ministry has been a testament of someone who's been faithful to preach what he believes the scripture is saying. Again, we have some differences being reformed and dispensational, but yet he still preaches his convictions and stood upon them and stood against some errors over the years and stood tall against them. And so we can thank God for men like John MacArthur who are now in the presence of the Lord. And so we are thankful for his ministry.